Most of the stocks I make, I put this right here on them. Red mahogany Minwax. This one especially because it's got this kind of a gray tint to it. And this Minwax stain is probably not a day over 25 years old. It's kind of turned into a gel almost. But it's still the right color. And I'm thinking if I buy some new stuff, it'll be so thin, it may be different. I don't know. Color is color, no matter what the consistency of it is. Color is still color. The pigment of it is still the same. It might, I don't know, it may have intensified because some of the solvent may have flashed off in 25 years. Could be. But it's still a really, really good color. I use a lot of, I put red mahogany on most everything I do. Either that or just natural. Unless I'm trying to match something. Like that 21 Winchester I was telling you about a while ago. I had to match that thing. It was a nightmare. Days like this, I'm really, really glad and thankful for my shop. Because it is December the 22nd or 3rd. I think it's the 23rd. Christmas is Sunday and this is Friday. And it is a balmy 7 degrees in my neighborhood, which in southeast Tennessee, that's pretty chilly. We're not really used to that kind of stuff around here. But there was a little Canadian front that came punching through last night about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And the wind is coming out of the north, and it's supposed to be a heat index of about 15-20 degrees below zero, which is pretty low. And so I'm really, really glad for my shop. I got a wood stove going and it went all night long, and it's about 60 in here, which is great working weather. Now that is not pristine, perfect, every little ding gone. It's got a few little teeny tiny blemishes here and there. But you know what? When that finishes out, it's going to look like an old shotgun that has had years and years of use, gentle use, and somebody's kept it up pretty good. That's what it's going to look like. That's the desired effect, is for someone to think that this has never been redone. This is the original finish. That's what I'm trying for. One of these days, when I get more used to this YouTube stuff, I'm going to remember to take a before picture and an after picture, because I don't do that. I need to. There's no point in putting that in that checkering. I just want to get right up to the edge and stop, because whatever I put in there, I've got to cut out when I go to clean up the checking. Whatever I put in there has got to come back out. It's just more labor for me. That's a pretty color. That's not a bad color at all. That's pretty grain. I mean, it's a nice grain piece of wood. Kind of straight. Doesn't have a lot of burl or anything in it, but I'd love to know what kind of tree that is. The stock's got some pretty graceful, nice lines to it. I like this open grip right there. And there's a ridge that at the point of this side plate, there's a ridge that goes right down the side of it. Just kind of a real slight ridge. Got a really pretty look to it. Quite European, if I might say so. Alright, I'll give that a few hours to dry. And I'll put my first coat of finish on it. And that first coat of finish will take probably 24 hours to be able to sand it. The first coat goes way deep, and it takes a lot longer for that to dry from the, because any finish dries from the inside out. If it dries from the outside in, you have a problem because you've trapped moisture in there. if you're spraying lacquer and stuff, that'll cause what they call milking or frosting. You don't want that to happen. You want it to dry from the inside out. And so because it goes so far in, it's not been sealed yet. Stain does not seal anything, no matter what the can says. Stain is not a sealer. It takes a while for that first coat to dry. After that, it's sealed, and it takes less time for it to dry from the inside out because it's only going in a little tiny bit. With each succeeding coat, you'll have less and less time between coats where you can sand it. But this first one, it takes about 24 hours. Usually if you'll kind of rotate this for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, just kind of like a chicken in a rotisserie, it'll usually keep the runs out of it. This is the solution I came up with keeping this stuff fresh. Just blow all the air out of it you can. Slam that plastic piece on there as fast as you can. And as you're tightening this, if you will squeeze this can and force the air out as much as you can, and then when you snug that piece of plastic down on that seal, it draws it down and seals it really well. That's the best way I've found to keep this stuff viable. It's good stuff, but it's expensive, and you don't want to lose it. Yeah, you do need to be careful what you eat when you blow into there, because the next day, if you've been eating linguine or something like that, it's yeah. I'm just using the brush just to put it on there. I'm using my hands to give it the desired, that oil rubbed look. The friction, the fact that it's exposed to air, something dries it down, and it'll start getting tacky after just a couple of minutes of this. And then you just use the heel of your hand, just the back edge of it, right there. Just use the heel of your hand, and you drag it across there. It's way too wet right now. It'll dry too shiny, and it's got little streaks and bubbles and everything else in it. As it dries, you keep rubbing it around as it dries, and then you just drag your hand across it, and it'll give you the finish of it'll give you the desired effect to look like an oil rub finish. Which I guess in essence that's what it is. This is oil and I'm rubbing it. I think there's no actual way to be absolutely positive, but I think this is the last coat.